Don't think, don't analyze, don't scroll away. Just look at the necklaces in front of you and notice which one pulls you in first. Not the one you like logically, but the one your eyes keep returning to. Because Carl Jung believed that symbols bypass the conscious mind and speak directly to the unconscious. And your unconscious always chooses before your logic wakes up. So for the next few seconds, let go of assumptions. Forget fashion. Forget price. Forget what looks trendy and simply choose the necklace that feels like it's quietly calling you. Because this is not a random preference. This is a mirror of your inner emotional structure, and once you choose, your mind will try to justify it. But the truth is, the decision has already been made beneath awareness. Now keep your choice locked and don't change it, because the moment you doubt, you move from intuition to defense. And this test only works when your first instinct leads. Carl Jung described this as active symbolism, where an image awakens a hidden pattern inside the psyche. And jewelry is one of the strongest symbols because it represents value, identity, protection, and attachment. Long before language existed, humans wore objects close to their bodies to represent who they were and what they feared losing. So your necklace choice reveals not who you pretend to be, but how you emotionally survive the world. Now, if you chose necklace 1, the simple and understated pendant, this choice immediately tells me something important about you. You are someone who learned early in life that emotions must be managed, not displayed. You are not cold. You are controlled, and there is a big difference. People often mistake your calm nature for emotional distance, but in reality you feel things deeply, sometimes too deeply. And that is exactly why you chose simplicity, because simplicity is safety for you. Chaos overwhelms you, drama drains you, and you've been in situations where emotions were used against you. So subconsciously you decided to keep things minimal, clean, and quiet. Jung would say, you have developed a strong persona, a mask that functions well in society. But behind that mask lives a sensitive inner child who only feels safe when life is predictable. You don't chase attention, you don't crave validation loudly, but that doesn't mean you don't need it. It just means you learned to survive without asking. And this necklace reflects your desire for balance, inner order, and emotional safety. You are the kind of person who gives stability to others while quietly carrying your own weight alone. Now, if your eyes were pulled toward necklace 2, the golden or royal-looking necklace, this choice reveals a very different inner world. You are driven not by greed, but by recognition. You want to be seen, acknowledged, and valued for who you truly are. And if that sounds uncomfortable to admit, that's exactly why your unconscious chose this symbol instead of your conscious mind. Somewhere in your life you felt overlooked, underestimated, or taken for granted. And that experience created a deep inner desire to matter, to shine, to leave a mark. Jung associated gold with the archetype of the self, the core identity striving for wholeness, meaning your psyche is pushing you toward self-expression and confidence. You may appear confident on the outside, or you may hide behind humility. But inside there is a voice that wants to say, I deserve more than this. Not more money necessarily, but more respect, more acknowledgement, more presence. You are energized by appreciation and drained by invisibility. And when people fail to notice your efforts, it hurts you more than you admit. This necklace represents your inner king or queen archetype, the part of you that knows your worth even when the world forgets it. Now, before you judge this as ego, understand this is not arrogance, this is compensation. The psyche compensates for emotional neglect by seeking symbolic value, and your choice reveals a strong desire to reclaim personal power. Now, if you chose necklace 3, the dark stone or mystical necklace, your unconscious is speaking in a much quieter, deeper language. You are not interested in surface-level life. Small talk bores you, shallow connections exhaust you, and you often feel like you don't fully belong anywhere, because your mind is always searching beneath appearances. Jung would describe you as someone strongly connected to the shadow and the intuitive function. You sense emotions in rooms, you feel shifts in people's energy, and you often know things without being able to explain how. This can make you feel isolated, misunderstood, or even strange at times. But the truth is, you see what others avoid, and that is both your gift and your burden. The dark stone symbolizes depth, mystery, and transformation. You are drawn to silence because silence speaks to you. You are drawn to darkness, not because you are negative, but because darkness contains truth. Many people who choose this necklace have lived through emotional intensity early in life, loss, betrayal, or deep questioning, and instead of becoming bitter, they turned inward, developing wisdom beyond their years. You may not trust easily, but when you do, your loyalty is rare and profound. And finally, if your attention went straight to necklace 4, the modern, sleek, minimal but bold design, this reveals a psyche that values autonomy above all else. You are emotionally independent, sometimes to the point where people think you don't need anyone. But the truth is, you learned that relying on others often leads to disappointment. So you rely on yourself. Jung would say your ego is highly differentiated, meaning you know where you end and others begin. You set boundaries naturally. You observe more than you speak, and when you detach, it is final. Not out of cruelty, but self-preservation. This necklace symbolizes control, clarity, and forward movement. You don't live in the past emotionally. You process, detach, and move on. But this strength can also become isolation if you never allow vulnerability back in. Your unconscious is telling you that independence has protected you, but it may also be limiting deeper connection. And here is where all 4 choices connect, because no necklace is better than the other. Each one represents a survival strategy formed by experience, and in Jungian psychology, survival strategies shape personality until we become unconscious of them. This test is not here to label you, but to make you aware, because awareness is the first step toward integration. And in the next part, we will go deeper into how your necklace choice affects your relationships, emotional reactions, and life patterns without you even realizing it. So stay with me, because your subconscious has only started speaking. Now that you understand what your necklace choice says about your inner emotional structure, let's go deeper, because Carl Jung didn't believe symbols stop at personality traits. He believed they shape how you love, how you react under pressure, how you attach, and how you distance yourself when things feel unsafe. And this is where most people suddenly recognize patterns they never consciously noticed before. Starting again with necklace 1, the simple and understated pendant. If this was your choice, your relationships often begin with caution, not because you don't want connection, but because you are constantly scanning for emotional safety. You give slowly, you test people quietly, and you rarely open up fully until trust has been proven over time. This can make others feel like you're distant or emotionally reserved, but in reality you are deeply loyal once someone passes your internal security check. Jung would describe this as a protective adaptation formed after emotional unpredictability, meaning, at some point in your life, emotions felt unsafe or unstable, so your psyche learned to regulate and contain feelings rather than express them freely. This is why you often become the emotional stabilizer in relationships, the listener, the problem solver, the calm one during chaos. But what people don't see is that you also need reassurance, consistency, and emotional honesty. You just rarely ask for it, and when you don't receive it, you withdraw quietly instead of confronting directly. Now in love, this means you value depth over intensity. You don't fall fast, but when you fall deeply, and you stay longer than you should, because loyalty matters to you more than excitement. Your shadow, according to Jung, is suppressed emotional expression, feelings you never fully voiced, needs you convinced yourself you don't have, and growth for you begins when you allow yourself to be emotionally seen without feeling weak for it. Now moving to necklace 2, the golden or royal necklace. This choice strongly influences how you attach to others and how rejection affects you. In relationships you give a lot, sometimes too much, not because you are needy, but because appreciation is your emotional oxygen. When your efforts are recognized, you glow, you feel alive, motivated, and generous. But when they are ignored, you feel invisible, unimportant, or even resentful. Jung would say your psyche is compensating for an inner wound related to worth, not because you lack value, but because at some stage your value was not mirrored back to you. This makes you sensitive to tone, praise, and acknowledgement, and you may replay conversations in your head, wondering if you said too much or not enough. In love you are passionate, expressive, and proud of your partner, but you also expect reciprocity, not perfection, just recognition. When you don't get it, your confidence begins to crack, even if you hide it well. Your shadow lies in external validation, the unconscious belief that being seen equals being worthy, and your growth begins when you learn to internalize your value rather than waiting for others. Now necklace 3, the dark stone or mystical necklace. This choice creates a very unique relational pattern. You don't bond easily, but when you do, the connection feels intense, almost karmic. You crave emotional truth, not comfort, and you are often drawn to people who are complex, wounded or searching. Jung would associate this with the archetype of the seeker or the alchemist, someone whose life is about transformation, not stability. You feel deeply, but you don't always express it. Instead, you process emotions internally, sometimes isolating yourself to understand what you're feeling. This can make partners feel shut out. Even though you are simply trying to make sense of your inner world, you are highly intuitive and often absorb others' emotions, which can leave you emotionally drained if you don't set boundaries. Your shadow is emotional overload and withdrawal, disappearing instead of communicating. And growth for you lies in learning that not everyone can read your silence. Some people need words to feel secure. Now, necklace 4, the modern and sleek design. This choice shapes a strong, independent attachment style. You value freedom, personal space, and emotional autonomy. You dislike feeling controlled, emotionally dependent, or restricted in any way. In relationships, you observe first, engage second, and commit last. And once you commit, you are steady, but you always keep a part of yourself protected. Jung would describe this as a highly differentiated ego, formed through experiences where reliance led to disappointment. So you learned to self-regulate and self-protect. Your strength is emotional resilience. Your weakness is emotional distance. When conflict arises, you detach rather than engage, not because you don't care, but because disengagement feels safer than vulnerability. Your shadow lies in avoidance, the unconscious belief that closeness leads to loss of self, and growth begins when you realize that healthy connection does not require surrendering independence. Now, here is where Jung's concept of individuation becomes important. Individuation is the process of integrating all parts of the psyche, not just the ones we prefer. Your necklace choice shows which part of you is dominant, but wholeness comes from balancing it with its opposite. Simplicity needs expression, power needs inner validation, depth needs communication, independence needs openness. And the reason this test feels accurate is because symbols activate recognition, not logic. Your mind is not learning something new, it is remembering something it already knew but never named. And in the final part, we will uncover what your necklace choice reveals about your deepest fear and your hidden desire, the two forces that silently drive almost every decision you make. So stay with me, because this is where the truth becomes uncomfortable, but transformative. Now we reach the deepest layer of this test, the part Carl Jung believed most people avoid their entire lives. The place where desire and fear coexist, shaping decisions silently while the conscious mind tells comforting stories. Because every symbol you are drawn to is not only revealing who you are, but also what you are protecting yourself from and what you secretly long for. Starting again with necklace 1, the simple and understated pendant. Your deepest fear is emotional chaos, unpredictability, and losing inner balance. You are afraid of situations where emotions become overwhelming, messy, or uncontrollable, because at some point in your life, emotional instability cost you safety, peace, or self-respect. So your psyche learned to value control, calm, and order above intensity. But hidden beneath this fear is a powerful desire, the desire to be emotionally understood without having to explain yourself, to be held without having to ask, to feel safe enough to soften without losing dignity. Jung would say, your unconscious longs for secure attachment, not excitement, not drama, but presence. And when you don't receive this, you retreat into self-sufficiency, convincing yourself you don't need much. But the truth is, you need depth just as much as anyone else. You simply need it delivered gently. Now necklace 2, the golden or royal necklace. Your deepest fear is invisibility, being forgettable, unappreciated, or replaceable. This fear doesn't come from ego. It comes from a wound where your efforts or identity were not mirrored back with respect. So your unconscious learned to equate visibility with safety, and success with worth. But beneath this fear lives a strong and beautiful desire, the desire to be celebrated for who you are, not just what you do, to feel chosen, admired, and emotionally prioritized. Jung would say your psyche is striving towards the realization of your true potential. But the challenge for you is learning that worth is inherent, not awarded. And when you internalize this, your confidence becomes unshakable, not dependent on applause. Now necklace 3, the dark stone or mystical necklace. Your deepest fear is emotional exposure without understanding, being seen but not truly known, opening your inner world only to be misunderstood, judged, or dismissed. because you feel deeply. You fear being trivialized, and this fear leads you to guard your inner world fiercely. But beneath this fear is a profound desire, the desire for soul-level connection, to be met in depth, silence, and truth. Jung would say your unconscious is seeking integration of the shadow, the parts of you that are intense, complex, and emotionally raw. And your growth lies in trusting that not everyone will fear your depth. Some will recognize it as home. Now, necklace for the modern and sleek necklace. Your deepest fear is dependency, losing autonomy, or becoming emotionally trapped, because you learned early that relying on others can cost freedom or self-identity. So you built a strong inner structure that prioritizes independence. But beneath this fear is a quiet desire, the desire to rest, to let someone else hold responsibility, to feel supported without feeling controlled. Jung would say your psyche longs for interdependence, not independence or dependence, but the balance between the two. Now, here is the final truth that connects all four choices. Your necklace did not choose you randomly. It chose you because it reflects the strategy your psyche developed to survive. And survival strategies are useful, but they are not meant to become prisons. Jung believed suffering begins when we confuse protection with identity. When we believe we are only the mask we learn to wear. This test is not here to tell you who you are. It is here to remind you who you are becoming. Awareness loosens unconscious patterns, and once a pattern is conscious, it no longer controls you. It becomes a choice. So whether you chose simplicity, power, depth, or independence, your task is not to abandon it, but to balance it. Because wholeness is not found by rejecting parts of yourself, but by integrating them. And if this resonated, comment the necklace you chose and what part felt most accurate. Because your subconscious doesn't speak in words, it speaks in recognition, and today you listened.